My name is Angela Tonn, and I live in Dunwoody, Georgia, which is a suburb just north of Atlanta. I am a public high school teacher. I teach biology and AP biology. This is my 30th year, actually my 31st year. I'm trying not to count the COVID year. I want to start by saying, I'm about to talk about how miserable it is, but I want to start by saying I am one of those who believes in the necessity of being remote now. I do not think it's safe for the kids, their families, or the teachers in our families to be 8 hours face to face in a broken down old building with a crappy HVAC. I don't mean to call out my county. I think that's across the board. We have not invested in education. It's rough. It really is. All the things that we love about teaching, the things that we do, are now removed and remote. You know, this is nice. Like I like to see your face. That's neat. We can talk, but it's not the same as being in a room together. And you think about this with like your friends or your family, or if you Zoom with your grandma, whatever. It's nice, but it's not the same. So you assess them in a million tiny ways the minute they come in your room. Uh-oh, Sarah looks kind of sad today. Let me make a note to ask her something. Oh, what, John doesn't look well. You know, those little tiny things, right on over to, I'm lecturing to my AP biology kids, and that's supposed to be a college level class, so we're giving college level lectures, but you see that blank face, like, oh, that didn't land. Let me back that up. So the million ways to do our job, and the million ways to connect and interact, which really lets us do our job. We say in teaching, they don't care what you know till they know you care. And it's true, I think. Not a fan of the teacher who works too hard to curry favor with children, because that gets creepy. But they do need to know that you're in their corner. And it's so hard. Weirdly, last year was a little easier because we'd known them when we had to cut, and this year we get all new kids, and I've never seen their face except on a screen. Honestly, it's damn depressing. Commodification of education has to stop. These made up, behind who? According to whom? In 30 years, they'll have no memory of what they learned in school, but they will remember how they felt. And this pressuring these kids, I said, I teach AP biology in addition to regular baby bio. And I teach at a high needs, low income school, almost all recent immigrant, first gen stuff. So that AP credit means a lot to them to try to start their college journey. And I bust my behind to do everything I can to help them have a shot at that AP exam. Even then, I'm telling them, guys, it's a pandemic. The whole pan, remember pan? Everybody. The world knows that this is you guys are going to be the COVID kids. And don't do this to yourself. Really, don't do this to yourself. Parents, stop doing this to your kids. They'll be fine. Let's teach them enough. Let's make them feel secure. Let's make sure they know that their teachers and their parents and their community care about them. We've got to stop doing this to children. This testing mania that we've been going is we're stressing children to hell and back over some corporate made profit generator. Are you kidding me? So people who live in the expensive enclaves can say their kids got good test scores. Well, of course they did. Standardized test came from the eugenics movement. Standardized test measures the square footage of your mama's house. God, parents, please know, standardized testing is for the most part garbage. And again, I'm an AP teacher. I want to help my kids get that. And I work for the AP in the summer grading the darn things. But even their own research is a perfect correlation, right? Graph, let's do this backwards here. Graph going this way, perfect correlation. And I always tell my kids this. If it's a perfect correlation and this on the x-axis is test score, what do you think's on the y-axis? And the kids are so sweet. They're always like, effort, grit, determination. I'm like, oh, I got bad news for you, Bippy. Not to say that some low-income people don't bust through that, but in general, this is measuring your access to the dominant culture. And now we've taken that same dumb concept and scattershotted it all through education. We're giving little kids standardized tests. Have we lost our damn mind? And the taxpayers paying for it. This is insane. Education in the time of COVID, the thing I'm most hopeful about is maybe more parents and more community members will realize that we don't need any of that mess. It's just a money suck and a time suck. What we need is quality teaching and learning and time with the kids and community engagement. Oh, and funding. That'd be nice too. But so maybe I'm hoping, if we want to look on the bright side and be a glass half full kind of girl, maybe more people will realize that when they're like, hey, we didn't have standardized tests last year. And my kid is still alive. Look at that. I witnessed the dawn of No Child Left Behind, which was a total train wreck, and its monstrous Big Brother race to the top. I mean, we can put blame on both parties here. They both participated real heavily in commodifying education and in funneling public money to private coffers. I mean, if these tests are so damn important, why don't we charge the colleges of education with making them so we can access them for free? This is a money game. And the people who insist on these tests know where that money's going. And they know it's not going to children. It's not going to facilities. It's not going to teachers. And it's not coming back into the community. That money is going off to shareholders. They're great little barometers of what's going on. I mean, that really, they read us much better than we read them. You know, if you're having a bad day and you have a good relationship with your kids, they know the minute you walk in the room. Like, what's wrong, miss? Like, I didn't say anything. Like, you're not smiling like you usually do. They're amazing. They know. I mean, what value can I see in a standardized test or sweating some kid over a standardized test that I don't see the results of until they're basically out of my door? Like, what? As an educator, that's not valuable to me. I can't call you as the mom and say, hey, Sarah, I just want to tell you how your kid's doing in biology this week. You know, this is going well. Or, hey, I don't think this is abstract. I don't think she quite gets it. Let her stay on Wednesday with me. Well, no, by the time we see those standardized tests, the kid's gone. We are not doing right by our children for these. And I've watched them become stressed. Like your good students stress out because they want to do well. And I can only imagine what it's doing to the youngers. And your middle of the roadie kind of kids check out because they feel like they can't play this game. It's like they're suddenly playing soccer against Atlanta United in their mind. And it's like, I'm going to lose anyway. So, and then your struggle babies. Oh, geez. And the school I'm at, I think I mentioned the vast majority of my students are first gen. They're immigrants. So they're non-native speakers. One of my favorite stories is after one of these damn standardized tests, a kid who looked at me and said, Miss, what kind of an animal is a dandelion? Guessing he got that question wrong. So I'm watching us stress the kids out. And that, as I said, has come in over my career. But I remain hopeful because I have watched the world at large, because it sounds like a good idea, right? We don't want to leave children behind. Rhetorical tricks are amazing, aren't they? I feel like the world may be catching up to us, like these ideas that, wait a minute, we don't need this. We don't need to be stressing out 8-year-olds. Hell, we don't need to be stressing out 14-year-olds. Still, the best predictor of your freshman success in college, it's not your SAT score. So I am concerned that as we place all these burdens on schools, we're pulling up the ladder to the American dream. If we're tying it so tightly to this narrow window to squeeze through, and at the same time that is sucking money away, and at the same time we're seeing more and more low-income kids in public schools, more and more ESOL, English language learners in public schools. You know, if you need an attendant to sit with your kid all day, that's expensive. So this money that should be going to materials and smaller class size and better facilities isn't there. We're cheating them. We're cheating our kids and cheating ourselves in the process. I mean, if we want a better world, that's them. It's not us. We're pulling up that ladder. Public schools should be your access to a wider world. You know, you don't have to be a rich kid to go to the public school and learn to speak French and maybe go to Paris someday, you know, or learn that, hey, wow, I really do like science. Hey, look at here. I can sing or play an instrument, or I just like learning. Or conversely, maybe I don't. And this isn't for me, but that's okay because there's other stuff. Why aren't we investing in technical school? Like truly investing in it and making it very available. Heck, you know, electricians, plumbers, hairdressers. I mean, who are we all missing these days? Our hairdressers, right? My hair isn't usually this color. I guess that's the best phrase I can think of. I'm afraid we're pulling up the ladder. Who you are as a person is not defined by some number on a page or a book or a chart or anything else. I think we're shutting out kids whose gifts and talents are other and not celebrating them. I mean, one of the casualties of all this, arts programs, theater, band, sing, chorus, visual arts, drama, all these things that make a school experience so much richer, especially at a low income school. You know, we always talk about, we didn't go into this for the money. The argument they always make about CEOs, right? Well, if you want to get a good one, you got to pay them. But teachers should do it for the love of it. Well, hey, I got to read between the lines, buddy. But again, priorities, funding, where's that money going? Your taxes don't have to go up to build better schools. We just have to reprioritize the money you're already spending on them. I'm very concerned that my generation of teachers, when we leave, will be the last career teachers. And this bothers me because I'll tell you, I was very good my first 10 years, not as good as I became. And I hope that doesn't seem arrogant, but I am very proud of my career and I've worked very hard at it. And there is such thing as people who are natural to it. I didn't mean to be a teacher. I didn't study education. I was a biology major. I had whole other plans, but I read this, well, I was in graduate school at the time, and I read this article that Georgia needed teachers. I was like, yeah, I could do that for a little while. Well, I figure out exactly what I'm going to do with my great scientific self. I fell in love and found my place. And it's been an incredible gift. I have had a fabulous career. I'm so lucky. But I'm very afraid that there will be no more me's. Not that I'm the only answer to the world, but close. Just kidding. Because the pay is terrible, saying, basically all the things we've asked of teachers. I just wanted to teach your kid, but now I have to throw my body in front of an active shooter, and I have to teach in a pandemic. And before that, I needed to fix their social emotional problems. And, it's like, what's expected of teachers, including spending a lot of your own money, as painful as it's truly painful to say, I don't know that I could recommend this career to a bright young person, because it is some days, not the kid part of it, but I would be hard pressed to look at a bright young woman or young man and say, hey, have you thought about going into teaching? Because, you got these nuts in the government who want to give you a gun to go with your chalk. This is insane. You have these other nuts who think you need to just risk getting a deadly virus because society has dropped the ball and we're the only answer. We were never set up to solve all of society's ills. And we certainly aren't funded to solve all of society's ills. The vast majority of our students are from all over Latin America and South America, but we also have a good chunk of Southeast Asians and Asians and a little handful of American kids, little tiny pockets. It's wonderful, but again, the pressure we're putting on these kids to not just learn the language, but to learn the academic language and the subject, and then be able to express themselves at a level that we would expect. But when you start learning a little bit later, think about your vocabulary. Now, like I said, the kid asking me what kind of an animal is a dandelion. He never heard of a dandelion, but he saw part of a word he knew. Well, he lives in an urban setting on Beaufort Highway. So, they're not playing with dandelions like maybe you and I did growing up, or they use a different word for them. So you're dealing with, again, I'm afraid we're crushing these kids under our heel before we help them to fly. And then because standardized tests measure standardized minds, we've decided that all birds should fly. So we're trying to figure out how to launch penguins into the air. I'm very concerned that this was intentional, that some powers that be maybe don't believe in the American dream the way a lot of us do, that every child should have what you want for your child as far as opportunity and education and resources. And every room, every classroom should be staffed with a well-educated, well-trained, and in my mind, experienced teacher. Not wild about the temporary teachers. You don't want to turn your company over to CEOs for America, do you? I took a 6-week course. Let me run your company. You're like, no. I took a 6-week course. Let me teach your kid. Should elicit the same response. I took a 6-week course. I can do your teeth. I'm a great dentist. And no diss to some of the teachers who've done it, who then went back and decided to learn and stay. But when you make teaching a craptastic profession, then you have to rely on temps to do it. That's not going to be good for your kids. Another thing to always look for is, are the elite private schools doing that? And of course, the answer is no. Are they doing standardized testing beyond the optional big ones, PSAT, AP, IB? No, of course they're not. They're not hiring temp teachers. And the difference is money. My students, we can chat, and I do get them to, like, pulling teeth because they don't like to be on camera. Isn't that weird? Teenagers who take selfies all day, every day, and Snapchat all the time. Getting them to go live with me is like, I've really practically got to promise them food and money or something. But the interactions with them and their desire for a better world, their level of understanding of the issues that we adults just cannot seem to figure out is fascinating to me. The kids, they get the idea of climate change better than you'd think. They get it. It's not a hard sell for them. They're like, yeah, that makes sense. And yet adults act like this is something we just cannot possibly wrap our heads around. It gives me hope that they get it. They don't see it as a choice between, oh, we're all going to live in a cave again, or we're going, it's like, no. They get interpersonal things. They are so much less. I mean, yes, racism exists in the younger people, sexism exists, homophobia exists, but not at the level it does in adults. They're much more open. Their desire for change makes me very happy. It's fun to listen to them. And they're like, they want a better world. And they're a little bit like TikTok. So these things give me hope. And like I said, some of the experience from this COVID weirdness that gives me some hope is I hear, maybe it's because we're also starved for interaction with people, that maybe some of us are really starting to examine our privilege, our places where we fall short, because we all do. Maybe we will really stop and go, wow, why was it when all this went nuts, the only place I could turn for community help was the public school? Yes, of course we should be helping, but food insecurity, public school. Bullying, suicide prevention, public school. Daycare, public school. Maybe we'll get that notion of yes, the community, the local governments, federal government needs to do more. Mad respect for the parents. I know that they're doing the best they can. And my kids' parents are working. My kids' parents are frontline workers. They're working in restaurants. They're working as housekeepers. They're working lawn and maintenance and things. So they're out there. It's one of the reasons a lot of my kids they want to go back, but they don't because they live with grandma. Mad respect to the parents who are holding it together right now. I think we're very, very lucky to have these immigrants in our country who want to be here, who want to contribute, who want to be a part of fabric of our society, who are bringing with them an incredible work ethic. Sometimes my kids aren't so good on homework, but they're teenagers. But they're not afraid of hard work. They don't bring that xenophobia because, I think business owners are going to be very, very glad, especially if they stop looking at test scores and look at this young man, this young woman standing in front of you and say, wow, look what this kid's been through. And here they are. Like I said, the thing I get from my students mostly is they want to be part of a solution. They do see the problems. They certainly understand, xenophobia, and they certainly understand racism, and they certainly understand discrimination against lower income people and the way that plays out. Dumb is the last thing we got to worry about. But this notion that they want to solve it, I kind of dig that.